Hurry up now, Cecil. Stop dawdling. You know I've got the washing machine man coming at 5. The centre of town was stuffed with shoppers. Cars heaved by to his left. He was worried about getting lost, but no matter how much he tried to keep up, Cecil kept slipping behind. Now his mind was wandering again as they passed the travel shop, and the photos of sun-kissed beaches caught his eye. "I said hurry up, Cecil!" He dragged his feet through the rain. Eventually they reached the stop, but stood there more than 15 minutes with no sign of a bus. Cecil suspected it was his fault. He was already in the doghouse, having been late to leave school. "God, where is that bloody bus?" his mum demanded, staring down at her watch. Cecil watched the shoppers and cars flash by, scruffy pigeons strolling the gutters. He watched the fat, puffy clouds chugging through the sky. Raindrops tap against car bonnets. Across the road he saw a pet shop and tugged his mother's arm, asking to go in. "Cecil, we haven't time to go gawping at cats and dogs." At that moment, the neon panel updated itself to reveal the bus was late by a further 15 minutes. Cecil's mother looked at the pet shop, then back at her son, whose wide eyes glowed up at her like those of some imploring puppy. "Oh, go on then," she sighed. It was hard to focus for longer than a few moments on one tank or glass-fronted cage before the dazzle of another caught the eye. Lizards lounged on rocks, velvety flesh glimmering in ripples of electric light. Speckled geckos clung to twiggy branches of green cacti or scurried over bars like amphibious acrobats. Under the shopkeeper's watchful eye, Cecil walked slowly, taking it all in. "You're not having any of them," his mother snapped, turning disdainfully from the reptiles. They turned a corner to a dim alcove, and, despite the fact both sections of the shop were noiseless but for the humming of the bulbs, this quarter seemed quieter. Thick green silence hung like a cloud around them. Cecil looked up to see a wall of glass tanks, fish of every size, variety and colours, swishing through the bubbling water or floating almost motionless, gazing glumly through the glass. He watched the clownfish, striped white on ice lolly orange, the danios, lithe slices of translucent silver, the minnows, with their sleek, oniony scales glinting. In the corner, like an afterthought, a goldfish bobbled through the water of a low, cramped tank. Cecil could have sworn that the fish, no longer than his index finger, raised its fiery face and met his gaze, those round raisin eyes seeming to bore through the water and flicker at him as if the fish were trying to say something. "Are you wanting any of 'em then?" came the gruff bark of the rotund owner, shuffling over. "He's just looking for now, aren't you, Cecil?" "Aye, well, it ain't an exhibition, love. If he just wants to look at 'em, he can bugger off down to the park. Now look, don't you dare speak to my son like them. Fish is my bread and butter. They want flogging, not looking at." As his mother and the shopkeeper argued, Cecil watched the swishing tail, the fancy dorsal fin, wavy as a billowy ball gown. He liked how the fish caught the light, how its tail swayed side to side, how elegant it was, unhurriedly sailing through water and weeds. He wondered if the fish were male or female. how old it was, whether it had been born in that tank, or one like it, or if they had fished it out of some river or pond somewhere. It shouldn't be there, really, he thought. It ought to be out in the water somewhere wild, swimming about instead of stuck indoors, gaping out at the world beyond its glass prison. He imagined taking it from the shop, sneaking out at night, tipping the tank into the nearest lake, or the stream that ran through the woods near home, watching the fish dart away downstream, free at last. At least if he could take it home, it would get a better lot than that tiny little tank. It'd have a proper tank, a big tank with lots of stones and plants to nibble at, and some of the fancy plastic items for sale on the shelf, like totem poles or puzzles for the fish to swim around and shoot in and out of. To keep the mines ticking over, he supposed. He watched the fish slide past the glass, dejectedly drifting. It didn't seem fair. "Come on, Cecil, we're not welcome here," came his mum's voice, smarting with anger as she yanked him by the elbow and led him to the door. "I'm not running a circus, you know," the owner growled behind his counter. "It's a business, this." "Well, I hope you go out of bloody business, you mean-spirited old sod," replied his mum, all but pushing Cecil out, and following in a flurry of indignant distaste. They went quick march down the street to the bus stop. The queue had disappeared, and Cecil saw the neon board was blank. "Oh, look at that, Cecil, now look what's happened. We've missed the bloody bus. You and your flaming fish and lizards." She shook her head, looking angrily into thin air. Cecil watched a raindrop creaking down the glass. They were sure to miss the washing machine man now. "You and your flaming fish," hissed his mother, staring ahead at nothing in particular.